Benton. This week there was a tragedy at a large university, Virginia Tech. It was actually both a tragedy and a sad story. A deranged student, a guy who'd been committed involuntarily to a mental treatment center, who'd been harassing female students, and whose writings were so scary that one teacher refused to have him in her class. Well, this poor, sad student murdered with a Glock gun, actually two of them. He murdered a couple of dozen fellow students and teachers in a classroom after killing a couple of people in one of the dorms. It was a very sad situation, very sad person, and of course a tragedy for the victims. Now, a lot of people have said a lot of things about what should be done. There's been talk of better warning systems, better announcement systems. Some people have advocated arming teachers so that if someone like this appears in their classroom, they can do something about it. Some people have advocated arming students. I want to talk a little bit about how this young man got his weapon. He went to a gun store a few miles away, signed a form which said he had never been in a mental institution, and after a quick check on a computer system which lists people who have been in jail, and he had not been in jail, they sold him the gun. They sold him two guns, two handguns, two semi-automatic handguns. So he was able to do this even though he was a clear menace and had been for years. I want to talk about that. The gun control system in this country is absurd. It's dangerous. We have roughly 10 times the murder rate of any other advanced country. Places like Canada and England laugh at us. They say we're the Wild West and we're nuts. I don't think we're nuts. I think we're being bought. And I want to explain to you what I mean. First of all, about the gun control laws. President Clinton finally persuaded the Congress to pass some laws that had been discussed and proposed for decades. There's been a series of tragic killings like this going back year after year. Columbine was one. There have been several in other states. Finally, someone passed the law, Bill Clinton, which required a 5-day waiting period before someone could actually buy a gun. That gave both time for the police to find out if there was some reason they should not have a gun, and time for the emotions of the moment to calm down, to kind of cool off. That helped a lot. But that law was a temporary law. It expired, and the Republican-dominated Congress of the last few years refused to extend it. They are responsible for this tragedy. Now, what should we do? Well, you notice, when this young man went to buy his gun, there was a computer system which allowed the gun store owner to check whether he had been convicted of a serious crime. Couldn't there be a similar computer system for checking on whether somebody has been involuntarily committed to a mental treatment institution or perhaps for drug treatment? It wouldn't be hard to do. The reason it's not done is that the people who bribe the Congress don't want it done. Let's talk about that for a minute. I want to talk about the gun laws in this country and how they are made. The people who run the National Rifle Association are not simple hunters. Most of the members are. Most of the members who pay dues are reasonable, law-abiding citizens. But the people who run the organization, the people who can spend those dues, and who also have other sources of money, such as advertisements in the National Rifle Association magazine and contributions from manufacturers of guns, manufacturers of ammunition, all sorts of people in the gun business, and possibly some illicit sources who use guns, criminals. These people are not just honest folks who happen to be hunters. These are political operatives who use that money to bribe congressmen, to bribe senators, to prevent laws like the one we're talking about. Law to allow double checking on whether somebody who wants to buy a gun is actually a mental patient. There have been many laws suggested for these kinds of safety checks, all of which have been voted down. The one that finally got passed, which outlawed assault weapons and required a 5-day waiting period to buy a handgun, had a time limit. When that time limit expired, the Republican Congress refused to renew them. Again, they are responsible for this tragedy. This is a serious matter. Laws like that must be passed, must be enforced. We can do it. Why aren't they happening? They're not happening because of the financing system that works in Washington, which is a legalized bribery scheme. Special interests led by the NRA give huge amounts of money to the legislators. They're, quote, campaign contributions, but what they really are is bribes. Those legislators then stifle any call for limits on things that will make money for the gun industry. This has got to stop. Those people are all collaborating in murder. If this is not stopped, there will be ongoing tragedies like Virginia Tech, like Columbine, like hundreds of others. Every other country in the civilized world has outlawed guns. We should do it too. Britain did not do this until a couple of years ago when there was a similar massacre in a elementary school in Scotland. If the Britons, the Canadians, the French, the Germans, the Japanese, if everyone else can do it, we should. The only reason we're not is the illicit bribery by the gun interests. It has got to stop. It is not the real America. Write to your congressman, write to your senator, write to me. We'll get it stopped. Thank you.